Yeah. Typically, if I'm like running the RNG just to set baseline levels, like I'm running it just here at my house, which is not haunted as far as I know, I only get like 1 or 2 pings an hour, say. And I'd probably say on the average of 1.5. But when we did our Beatty investigation, for example, that was a 6-hour investigation, and we had 19 anomalous probability events on the RNG during that 6 hours. So that's considerably higher than I normally get if I'm just running at baseline.
Have any of you guys ever had anything follow you home?
Oh, yeah, they kind of live with me.
Okay.
It's just a normal thing for me.
Oh, my.
Yeah, my cat followed me home, and I put out some milk for it.
Oh, boy.
My Baggins impersonation follows me wherever I go, but other than that, no.
Okay. I'm just curious.
And we need to hear that, Scott.
Some people bring things home they wasn't, looking to bring home.
Yeah, no, I'm actually pretty serious.
We call them attachments, right?
Yeah, my life is pretty chaotic, so it's not unusual for things to fly around when I'm around.
Okay.
I personally have never brought anything home as far as I know of.
Right.
Not saying it will never happen, but so far, knock on wood, it has not happened.
Now, do you guys?
Nor to me.
Did you do anything individually or as a team to protect yourselves, or how do you go about that?
Nothing really. Again, we had a tendency to follow under the basis of proof.
Okay.
And so we're looking at everything pretty objectively. And so, not to say that any sort of protection doesn't work, but we just really don't partake in that so much. I mean, individual team members, if they want to, are more than welcome to.
Okay.
But we don't do any sort of like a group activity to do that, no.
Okay. Now, have you guys ever been into a place that was, infested with bugs or maybe rotten wood could fall through the floor or anything like that? These are other factors that factor in sometimes with investigating.
Well, if that happened with me, I'd be outside waiting in the parking lot.
I'm the one that has a tendency to. I'm the one that crawls into the holes, crawls across the weak attics, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, a lot of the other investigators yell at me.
I'm kind of the OCD member of the group, so anything that's too dirty or too nasty, I tend to,
That's when you watch
stay away.
You watch the monitors.
And I personally tend to avoid houses. I avoid houses that don't have air conditioning. So.
Okay.
Dan's the one who likes to crawl into dirty, nasty places and get all bugged out and everything.
Mm-hmm. So what's your next plan of attack for as experimenting with your experiment and your equipment?
Well, I think the next phase of the RNG testing, we've proved it out with our team to my satisfaction. I mean, we'll continue to work with that, and we've worked with it enough that we can call that, kind of a standard part of our investigation kit now. I think the next step is going to be probably to farm it out to a couple other teams and make sure that it's not something with our interpersonal dynamic that makes it get the results that it gets, but that everyone would be able to get the same results.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you think different parts of the country will sway that in any way, or you just haven't got that far yet, or is it all basically, I don't know, still testing?
Well, I'm sure if we could afford it, there'd be people in our team that would be willing to, fly to Japan and investigate the suicide forest or what have you. But
it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
actually, I'm hoping to run the RNG. I want to go down to the Ford Camp Crystal Mines in October. I want to do some RNG experiments down there.
Yeah, because the more experiments with different variables and the more data that you can get, the more you can fine tune your equipment and know what you're doing and what you're looking for, and it can really bring a lot to the
absolutely.
It really could. I'm kind of looking forward.
I think we're already. There was a lot of chatter when we we just finished doing lectures at the Kansas City Paranormal Conference, and there was a lot of excitement about what we were doing there, and because a lot of people, I think, legitimately realized that we're kind of doing some groundbreaking work by bringing this, the scientific method and utilizing that as part of our paranormal investigations. It's just not running around and freaking out over, orbs or a weird cold spot or whatever. There's more to it than that. And I would like factor. Pardon?
The Scooby-Doo factor.
Yeah. I would just like to see the field. Like I said, I used to teach parapsychology, so I would like to see more of the protocols that have been used in parapsychology over the years brought into modern paranormal investigation. So I kind of see myself as a bridge between those two things. And the more scientific approaches we can use in these investigations, and the more we can spread that among other groups, the more seriously these investigations will be taken by real scientists.
And you know what else? If you could get just in maybe 10% of the classrooms of the parapsychology classes to have that piece of equipment for the students to use on field trips or whatever, and that's just more resources for data to be tested and collected. That would be something too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential to it. So we're pretty excited about the correlation between the RNG and the cartography. Really has to work together. It's really a very dynamic pairing. Either one by itself is much less effective.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can run the RNG and you can put it up against something that you have documented that, okay, this happened then you actually start to have something. And that's been, where one of the places we'd like to go is we'd like to work with mediums more. Because up until now, mediums essentially, no matter how good they may be, it's almost a faith thing. And so this would be a way of, they're again reinforcing the things the mediums are experiencing and things like that. So I'll get a way of legitimizing their views and what they're experiencing.
And if I could add to that, the I've been involved in the PR ever since its information in 2015. And one of the reasons when I first met Dan was that the fact that he wanted to take a more scientific approach to it. And mm-hmm. I tend to agree. And that's one of the things that turned me on the most about the PRI was that, not to discredit the claims about any of these other programs that are on TV nowadays, but everything, it seems like nowadays everything's a demon. Orbs are, it's what do you call it?
Para-entertainment.
It's para-entertainment. On short term, it's called I want to dive deeper into the field and what it means scientifically instead of just running around in the dark room and being all freaked out and scared. To me, that's childish, if you ask me. And unfortunately, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's like being a doctor and being having a phobia or being afraid of blood. It just don't make sense,
Right. I mean, it comes down to a good friend of mine put it really well one time. She said that we know as much about the paranormal world around us as an ant knows about the mountain that it's crawling on. Mm-hmm. We've been fascinated with this for the last 600-700 years, and we still don't know anything about it. And so, hopefully we're going to do something to change that.
Yeah. And with coinciding, the one reading with the other and overlapping them and seeing where they coincide, where an event happened, that's a fantastic kind of way to get evidence, and it adds more credence to what's going on. So if you can get equipment like that to produce these things over and over and being consistent about it, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. I always thought I raised the question a while back if we call this field we do paranormal, and I asked one time, will this ever be like headlines on CNN News or Fox News TV or whatever, along with what the president said yesterday or political, and if it's broadcast on a news station like that, would it be considered normal? It's not paranormal. that's a whole nother conversation. But
right,
I guess the point I'm trying to make is I would like to be taken more seriously by scientific individuals rather than TV viewers that are looking for sensationalism.
Well, and that's a good point, Scott, because there was a time in history when, like, hypnosis was considered totally fringe. Nobody believed it was real. And, you can see how far back then it was called mesmerism. You can see how far we've come from that, where hypnotism is now used in clinical practice. So, hopefully someday it will follow the same route, and people will take it totally seriously.
Correct.
And ironically, a lot of things could be called paranormal until you do scientific tests and prove them. However, if these scientists don't want to do it because they're prejudging, then what kind of scientists are them? It's like a vicious circle there, if you get what I'm saying.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, with understanding that the paranormal field, it's kind of a stair-step kind of thing. As we start to understand phenomena, it's no longer paranormal. That becomes normal. But you're going to springboard off that new information, and you're going to find something else that's then paranormal, and then explain that, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's like any other field. Door, so to speak. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once you find certain answers, that just opens up certain other questions, so it keeps going.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing. People always say here's an expert in the paranormal. Well, how can you be an expert in anything that's got a prefix of para in front of it? I mean, think about it.
Exactly.
That's like saying nobody goes to that restaurant anymore because it's too crowded.
Or let's go. Let's go. And while we're there, we're going to get jumbo shrimp. All you can eat jumbo shrimp. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
and that's something. Anyway, I think that's fantastic stuff. I'm curious in the future what kind of results you guys get with different variables coming in, like weather and EMFs and kinetic energy and all that kind of stuff, and telekinesis and all these factors factored in. It'd be great to get an overview of all that data for like a 5-year period or 3 years with a lot of people all over the country using it. And I'm sure that's what you're striving for.
That's the eventual goal. I mean, I've actually approached some individuals about once the data starts coming in hot and heavy enough, actually using artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze the data that we're getting.
Right. And that's a whole other story. Once the artificial intelligence starts thinking on its own, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
Oh, jeez. So we're running out of time here. Only got about 4 minutes or so left. What's your guys' next? Yeah, I know. What's your guys' next step? And then maybe tell us some websites you got or anything else you want to promote. Or go ahead.
Like I said, next step is going to be probably to send the RNG out and train some other teams in cartography and make sure they're getting the same results that we are. I mean, that's if it can't be duplicated by another team, then there's another factor going on that we will take our research in another direction. So clearly, we're hoping that it's going to work the same for everybody. So I think that's the next step that we have to take. And, we'll just keep plugging away, different variables, different environments, and make sure that we keep narrowing things down and keep documenting.
Yeah, that's very important to keep documenting your data and keep trying to repeat it. And I agree with you.
And we've also garnered new members of the PRI, too, just as a result of, investigating over the last few years. So.
Mm-hmm. And
we try and bring in people that are skilled in their particular fields that can really add different facets to the investigations. So I guess it's probably time that we tell you how to contact us.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. If anybody's interested, the email address for us is Paranormal Research Institute, all one word, at gmail.com. We're also on Facebook under Paranormal Research Institute, and I think the website is still up and running. I've got to check on that, but if not, it will be back up shortly. And that, again, is Paranormal Research Institute.